Ladies, we are about to start session 4 for the day. Ladies and gentlemen, I would request you all to kindly reassemble in the hall as we are about to begin the fourth session of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, we have on stage Mr. Henning Hammer, who will be chairing the fourth session of the day. Mr. Henning Hammer joined the cotton business in 1997 with Otto Stadtlander GmbH Germany, a company established in 1919. He has since been evolving their Asian activities along with deepening the company's involvement in extra long staple cotton and various other medium staple growths. Henning is now the managing director of Otto Stadtlander GmbH. He has also become the board member of the Bremer Baumwollbörse since 2013 and has been elected their vice president in 2014. Over to Mr. Henning Hammer.
So, thank you very much. Well, I'm very happy to be here in Mumbai, which is one of my favorite countries and also one of the first countries I visited during my cotton career. So I'm very much in favor of this place. For our panel discussion, may I introduce Mr. Ahmed Ebuzati. Ahmed Ebuzati is the chairman and managing director of Modern Nile Cotton Company, one of the largest trading companies out of Egypt. He first joined the cotton business in 1997 while studying economics and political science at the American University Cairo. After graduating, he joined Modern Nile Cotton on a full-time basis, assuming several roles within the group of companies until becoming its managing director in 2006 and its chairman and managing director since 2007. Mr. Ebuzati is currently the first president of the Alcotexa Cotton Exporters Association. First vice president. For the second time. Prior to that, he was already president of Alcotexa. On the international scene, Mr. Ebuzati is a past president of the International Cotton Association, ICA, and a past chairman of the Private Sector Advisory Panel of the International Cotton Advisory Committee, ICAC. He is an active member of the cotton value chain and a board member of several companies within the chain, with ranging activities from ginning to ready-made garments. He is a board member of several Egyptian foreign business councils, investment companies and NGOs. So, Mr. Ebuzati, may I ask you to give some words about Egypt? Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for this kind of invitation by the Cotton Association of India. And we have been receiving a very warm reception and welcome, and there is a lot of effort has been done, and I praise my dear friend Diranche for all the effort he's been doing in coming up with this wonderful event. When I was first asked to give a few remarks, I thought we were going to be in a panel discussion on long and extra long staple cottons, and of course I came, I can talk for a long time. I have not prepared anything because this is our livelihood. And ever since I arrived yesterday, everyone is asking me about the slides and the presentation. So maybe there was a miscommunication on that, but we can make it up for that. We have seen this morning, lots of very valuable presentations, and I see a lot of bearishness sentiment around us, and I think when I'm talking about us, I'm talking about people who are involved in international cotton arena, all gathered here in Mumbai. But if you know where I'm coming from, and my homeland is Egypt, I have been coming from a great sense of negativity as well for the past 4 years. So we had, within a span of 3 years, 2 major revolutions. And I don't see that this, or I cannot recall that this happened anywhere in the world before, especially in a country that is heavily populated with 90 million people. So I'm glad to be surviving, and I'm glad to be here around you. I'm not going to be as negative as the circumstances may dictate, but what I want to actually emphasize is that the long and extra long staple market is anywhere from 400 to 700,000 tons. So it's a real fraction of the total cotton economy, and should be characterized by luxury nature or going into special items. And for that, I see that we are doing little all together in promoting that to the final consumer. There has been a great sense of individual efforts or country efforts, and I have to admire what my dear friend Jeff Elder and his colleagues back home have done in the US in promoting American Pima, and more on the retail side and working very hard. Today you find a Hugo Boss shirt having Pima cotton on a tag, and this is already an achievement, because when you talk to the brands, they tell you, we sell our brand, we don't sell your cotton, and whether we use it or not, it's a luxury of ours, but you will not be recognized there. We will say it's Egyptian cotton, it's Pima cotton, it's Sea Island cotton, it's Soviet, which is a beautiful fabric that I had the luxury of buying something out there, and I urge you all to do that in support of luxury goods. I'm not only an Egyptian citizen, but I'm a citizen of the world, and I tend to travel a lot, and I've been traveling a lot extensively over the past 20 years. And I'm a person that also likes luxury items and follow the luxury market. And unlike other, components of each of those markets, the luxury market has not been affected greatly by a crisis or economic conditions. It is not a matter of, how much is produced here, what's the price. We don't have to bargain all the time on supply-demand things. It has a very steady, price range, and there is always product innovation and new products that come into the market. And I cannot see in a market of 375,000 tons or 400,000 tons feeding all luxury items that we should be really talking about the price and sensitivity of the price one way or another. I had various side discussions with a lot of spinners and a lot of growers, and we are an industry characterized by low margins, volumes. It is not supply and demand. There's interventions. There are government interventions that distort this market everywhere in the world. But we are doing very little on consumer awareness side to the share of cotton in general and the share of fine cottons. Everyone knows fine cotton should be better and should be more expensive, but in today's supply market, we don't see that translated into the price. And what is happening is that we are really, pushing farmers away from that cotton, and long term, it will just disappear if this trend continues. Although there have been great efforts in doing very profitable or at least better organized cotton farming, and again, here I have to praise my two friends, Jeff Elder and Udri from Israel. They have one of the highest yields on drip irrigation, even recycled water. So these are concepts of real sustainability. We attend forums all the time, we go to conferences, everyone talks about sustainability, but we don't see that translated into reality, because no one really cares what the farmer is making. Everyone cares to get the cheapest. There have been a lot of other things talked about in the past, such as fair trade, organic cotton, and recently BCI or Better Cotton initiatives. I don't see that any of those efforts have made a farmer a richer farmer or a better farmer, or really, no one really cared to transform that into a prosperous farmer. And if the brands and the retailers are not going to do that, it should be our job to talk to the final consumer. If we spend some money and some effort educating the consumer and have that demand, triggered at the consumer level, I'm sure we'll be in a much better world. With those remarks, I want to say that Egypt is a country of 7,000 years of history. Cotton has been 200 years of that history, and things tend to change slowly, but I'm sure it's going to stay another 300-400 years. I hope so. So I'm not as bearish as others, but I think there's a lot of hard work that needs to be done going forward, and with the commitment that I see back home nowadays, I'm sure it's going to be a better market. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abasati. And thank you for already starting to introduce the others. Nevertheless, now I'd like to introduce Mr. Jeff Elder. He is the Vice President of Marketing for the J.G. Boswell Company. As the Vice President of the nation's largest agricultural producer, Jeff oversees the sales and marketing of all the J.G. Boswell Cotton's primary crops, including Pima cotton, tomato paste, safflower, oil, and cottonseed oil. As such, he is the largest marketer and exporter of Exalong staple cotton in the world. He is in the 17th year with the Pasadena-based company. Jeff has been involved with California for more than 30 years, most of which have been in the cotton business. He is a past president of the Cotton Warehouse Association of America and is a past chairman of the SUPIMA organization, a grower-owned trade association that is responsible for the promotion of US Pima cotton and the licensing of the SUPIMA brand. He is currently the chairman of the Joint Cotton Committee of the International Textile Manufacturers Federation, ITMF, and he is a past alternative board member of the International Cotton Association of Liverpool in England. Jeff is currently serving as the Vice Chairman of the California Agricultural Leadership Foundation. Mr. Elder, please.
Thank you, Henry. See if I can have more luck with this. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to have a few minutes to speak, and I'm looking forward to the panel discussion. I've had a lot of opportunity over the last, I'd say 60 days, as most of us have, to talk to quite a few customers. We've had a lot of convention, a lot of meetings. And invariably, the question that I'm constantly asked is the question that's shown on the slide there. What is the long-term relationship between upland cotton and Pima cotton? And when you look at that slide from a distance, you can see that there does appear to be a correlation. But what I have to remind people is there has been times that there's been divergence, and there was a divergence in the 2005 year, and there's also was a divergence between 2009 and 2010. So where there is a long-term correlation, there have been times that those prices have tended to drift apart. And of course, what people say is, yeah, but Jeff, over the last 3 years, if you look at this 3-year price correlation, they've just been growing apart at historical rates, and that's true. But I think that's the wrong question that's being asked. I think everybody knows what the problem is. And the problem is that upland cotton has a very high stocks-to-use ratio, whereas most ELS cotton has got a more rational stocks-to-use ratio, and that's causing these prices to diverge. But I think the important question is not price. I don't think price is the question. I think price is the answer. The question is why over a 4-year period have the 3 largest extra long staple producing regions, China, Pima, and the United States, dropped their production in half? Now, I don't know, I can't answer the questions for the other 2 regions, but I'd like to have a little conversation about what's going on in California and why Pima acreage in California has been dropping, and for the foreseeable future will probably continue to drop unless we have a dramatic weather event. Of course, what I'm talking about is the California drought. And I'm assuming that even as far away as India that we've had, you've seen some reports and had some good conversations about the California drought. These are 2 slides that are taken a year apart. And the San Joaquin Valley of California, which is the shaded area there, is fed by the snowpack in the Sierra Nevada mountains. That's why we can grow Pima cotton, because we're a dry area that has a constant supply of water from melting snow. If you notice the slide on the top, there's virtually no snow in the mountains. On the slide on the bottom, it's covered with snow. That's the difference between 2014 and 2013. And this is the California Drought Monitor, and I would like to highlight the fact that that entire state of California is in a drought condition. The part that's the darkest red is what they would call an extreme drought. And an extreme drought means that it's going to take more than 1 season, in all likelihood, to overcome the drought situation. So that's areas that are really, really in bad shape. So what does the California drought look like? Now, I would mention that these reservoirs are not just agricultural reservoirs. These reservoirs feed all of the cities in California, feed the environments, the rivers, the wildlife, and also agriculture. And agriculture tends to be at the end of the road. Now, most of the people in California don't get a chance to get up and look at reservoirs, but what they do notice, and this is the city of Los Angeles, is we have historically bad wildfires. And of course, that's what the general citizen of California is worried about. They're going to have more wildfires. They've been told that they can't water their lawns more than 2 days a week. There's a $500 fine if they show you misusing water in any way, shape, or form. So it's becoming a very strong political interest in the state of California. Now, why is that important to Pima cotton? Well, anytime you have a drought, you're going to have less production. So farmland is being taken out of production in California. And as farmland gets taken out of production in California, it's got to compete with other crops. There's over 240 individual crops that are grown in the state of California. This slide will show you what the relative profitability is of Pima cotton vis-a-vis other crops at different price ranges. So you can see here we've got a price range of Pima cotton at $1.30 a pound. That would roughly equate to $1.50 a pound for cotton to be delivered into into India. So if we're paying a grower $1.30 a pound, that means that we're going to be selling at $1.50 a pound into India, and that's a price that people tend to feel comfortable with. Well, you can see from that slide, it's not really comfortable for the farmer. Even crops like safflower, which add a lot of nutrition back into the soil, are better producers than Pima cotton at $1.30. And if you move up into the top of that line with pistachios, almonds, and grapes, those are the crops that have been stealing most of the acreage away from California cotton. We went from 1.5 million acres 10 years ago to maybe 250,000 acres today. So that's going into those permanent crops, and you can see from the return per acre that there's no way that cotton can compete at any price with permanent crops. But as you move further down that, you see even crops like alfalfa hay actually have a better return at $1.30 than a Pima grower gets at $1.30. And then finally, I'll move that price up to $1.60, which is $1.80 into this region, which is getting close to where prices are today. And yes, we are doing now better against those temporary crops, the alfalfa and the corn and the safflower. But there are still some other row crops like tomatoes and onions and other vegetables that are going to produce much better. So this is the situation that's happening in California. It's being driven by the drought. If the drought is broken, then more acreage will come into California, more rotation crops will come into California, and you will see peanut acreages go back up. But right now, the biggest constraint in California is the California drought. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. I now introduce Mr. Uri Gilad. Mr. Uri Gilad is the Managing Director of the Israel Cotton Board since 2006. The Israel Cotton Board is the representative and marketing arm of all cotton growers in Israel. During these years, he acquired expertise, experience in the cotton growing, trading, especially in the extra long staple cotton. Before joining the Israel Cotton Board, Mr. Gilad served as a manager in various economic organizations which belong to kibbutz. This is Israel cooperatives. He was also a member in several boards in agricultural companies. Mr. Gilad has a BA in Economy of Agriculture from Jerusalem University, LLB in Law from Bar Ilan University, and an MBA from Hanegev University. So, Mr. Gilad, please do your presentation.
I want to thank the Cotton Association of India for giving me the opportunity to introduce shortly the Israel cotton industry and the Israel Cotton Board. As you know, Israel is a small country, and maybe the Israel cotton is less known than the Egyptian or the American cotton. The Israel Cotton Board represents, like Henning said, and markets all the cotton in Israel. The main activities of the Israel Cotton Board are R&D and breeding, plant protection, farmers, finance, classing, marketing, and shipping. In the recent years, Israel produced extra long staple and long staple cotton only. We produce mainly Pima and Akalpi, which is a hybrid between Pima and Akala varieties. The planted area in the last years is 4,000 to 9,000 hectares only. The lint production in the last 4 years is between 11 to 15,000 tons, mostly Pima variety. The production this year is 11,000 ton Pima and above 2,000 ton of Akalpi. The yields in Israel for extra long staple are the highest in the world. This is due to improved varieties and the agricultural technique. The yield this year is above 2,000 kilo lint, of course, per hectare. As you can see, we use the most advanced technology available in the world, and we also developed some of this. We put a lot of effort in saving the environment in the future. We use integrated pest control. Most of the cotton is irrigated by drip irrigation. There is no GMO cotton in Israel, and we also grow organic ELS cotton. Most of the water used for irrigation of cotton in Israel based on urban recycled water. The reason for this, of course, is the shortage of water availability for agricultural use. In Israel, we have been in the situation like California, and fortunately, we managed to deal with this by a lot of efforts. Our cotton is 100% machine picked, 100% origin, 100% HDI testing, and 100% testing for stickiness, which is quite unique in the world. In the HDI terms, our fibers parameters are for Pima 37 to 38 millimeter staple length, micronair 3.7 to 4.5, and strength 39 to 42 gram per tex. For the Acalpi, staple length 34 to 36 millimeters, micronair 3.4 to 4.1, and strength 34 to 37 gram per tex. In the recent years, the technical parameters of the Israel cotton improved a great deal. For example, the strength of the Pima fiber improved from 36 to 40 gram per tex average, and the staple length improved from 33 to 37 millimeter average. Since 2010, we are marketing the Israel cotton together with Otto Stadtländer Germany. The main market for the Israel cotton is firstly, of course, India, and then China, Europe, and East Asia. Thank you for your kind listening.
Thank you very much, Uri. Thank you for the promotion. May I now introduce Mr. B.K. Patodia? Well, if I need to do this here. Mr. B.K. Patodia is the Chairman and Managing Director of GTN Textiles Limited, Chairman of Patspin India Limited, and GTN Enterprises Limited. He is at the helm of the well-known GTN group of companies, which has grown under his leadership from 12,000 spindles to 215,000 spindles. GTN Group is a pioneer in setting up compact spinning in India and leading exporter of fine and superfine combed cotton yarns. In the past 35 years, GTN Group has won 35 trophies for being the best cotton yarn exporter from the country. Mr. Patodia is a past chairman of Indian Cotton Mills Federation, now known as Confederation of Indian Textile Industry, the Cotton Textiles Export Promotion Council, TEXPOCIL, and Southern India's Mill Association, CONBETROL. Mr. Patodia is a member of the advisory board on the Committee of Management of the International Textiles Manufacturers Federation, ITMF, and he's also a member of the Spinner Committee of ITMF and past chairman of the Joint Cotton Committee. Mr. Patodia continues to serve on Cotton Advisory Board and Cotton Yarn Advisory Board constituted by the Ministry of Textiles, the Government of India. Mr. Patodia.
Good afternoon. When Dhiren Bhai asked me to take part in the panel discussion, I thought it would be a nice, cozy chat on the fireside. Till the day before yesterday, he called me and said, you have to show some slides on Indian cotton, extra long stable cotton. So pardon the simple slides which I present on Indian extra long stable cotton. As everybody knows very well that India has now become the largest producer of raw cotton, second largest consumer as well as exporter of raw cotton. The share of ELS cotton production, which was 141,000 tons in 1991, has since come down to 75,000 tons in 2013, which still works out to 19% of the world ELS production. And the ELS production presently is hardly 1% of the total Indian crop, primarily because the Indian crop itself has grown many folds in the meantime. Today, the major variety of ELS grown in India is popularly known as DCS 32, mainly grown in the states of Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. Suvin, as you might have seen in the stall outside, is one of the finest ELS cotton ever produced in the world. It was grown extensively in 70s, 80s and the early 90s and had a crop of nearly 14,000 bales, but Mr. Mani Chinnaswamy told me it was almost 35,000 bales. And currently hardly 1,500 bales roughly of Suvin grown mainly in Tamil Nadu. So this is how in 96, 97 and 98, 99, ELS was almost 7 to 8% of the Indian total crop, which has come down to just about 1%. And the DCS 32 production, which was as high as 8 lakh bales in 93-94, is currently at about 4.5 lakh bales in 2013-14. In 2012-13, India produced 120 million kilograms in count group 61s to 80s, where the long staple and extra long staple cotton is required, and 41 million kilograms of 81s and above, making a total of 175 million kilograms. To meet the above requirement for the yarn of fine gowns and superfine gowns, India has to import significant quantities of ELS cotton, mainly Supima from USA, Giza cotton from Egypt, as well as some quantity of CIS and Sudanese cotton. The above imports amount to about 30% of industry's ELS requirement. What is significant is in the new national fiber policy, which has been widely discussed for the past 1.5 years, and in the meantime the government has changed, so it is not yet released. But we have made recommendation, I was also a part of it, to give encouragement to produce more quantities of ELS cotton in the country with special emphasis on Suvin. And I think as and when the policy is announced, we are hoping that a separate board will be constituted to take care of this job. The market for long staple and extra long staple cotton is likely to grow substantially in India due to growing demands of finer, high-value textile for both domestic and export markets. I would like to touch upon a couple of points more. What we need is to improve the present quality of DCS 32, and this I am saying because all of you are from cotton fraternity. So we need to, on the research side, which we have already told to CICR and other people in the business, that we have to improve the strength of the fiber, we have to improve the microneer of the fiber, and above all, contamination has to be eradicated or improved. If that is done, then I think we can grow sufficiently ELS DCS 32, and the need for dependence on import will go down further. Similarly, we need to develop a fiber which is 32 to 33 or 33.5 mm in length with the requisite strength. So we have MC5, but it's no longer the MC5 what we had known before. With the advent of BTC, everything seems to have been become of the same variety. So if these two things are taken care, I think it will give a big boost to long staple and extra long staple cotton in the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vattodia. May I now introduce Mr. Jörg Stahl. Mr. Jörg Stahl is a Vice President of Paul Reinhardt AG in Winterthur in Switzerland and has more than 30 years of experience in the cotton business. He joined the 226-year-old Swiss cotton merchant in 1993, starting at the European sales desk, and additionally he became responsible for sourcing Greek cotton. Over the time, Jörg Stahl has moved into trading ELS cotton, a focus segment of Reinhardt, who is one of the world's leading ELS merchants. Jörg, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very glad to be here on this ELS panel. My short presentation is covering the remaining ELS varieties, which might not be that well known to you, or at least part of you. And at the end, I will give you a short summary of the latest supply and demand situation. Chinese ELS cotton is grown in the southern Xinjiang area, in southern Xinjiang, in the south, in the Aksu region. Cotton is 100% irrigated, and the production is estimated to be around 50,000 tons. The producers are Division 1, they make 5 to 10%, and the balance is done by private farmers. In former years, Division 1 was producing up to 50% of the ELS cotton. The Chinese ELS cotton is of course 100% hand-picked, in contrary to the upland cotton, which is more and more machine-picked in Xinjiang. There is of course roller ginning, the bagging is cotton and some polyethylene, but no burlap. The types are named 137, 237, 136, 236. The first digit stands for the grade, and the second and third digit for the length in millimeters. The 37 millimeters corresponds about to the 48 or 50 of the US staple length, and the 36 millimeter to the 46. The current price level for a 137 is about 180 cents ex-G. Turkmenistan long staple is grown in different areas, also 100% irrigated. Production is around 80,000 tons in 14-15. There is much more available for export, namely 45,000 tons out of different crops and 17,500 tons out of the Presidential Reserve, which will later on also be released into export. This cotton is also hand-picked, roller-ginned, bagging is cotton. The grades are from 1 to 5, whereof about 80% grade 1. The parameters for a top grade is 1/7/16, micronair G5, strength 35 gram per dex and up. The Turkmenes used to base on a formula on the Uzbek index. Since the Uzbek index is that low, they changed and they go for their minimum own cost price. The selling is done through tenders daily by Turkmenbakta. The CIS ELS also involves the Uzbek with 2,000 tons and the Tajik with 500 tons. A relatively new variety is Spain ELS. It's grown in southern Spain. This is between Jerez and Sevilla. The irrigation system is irrigated, and also to mention that they do not have any water issue. There is always plenty of water around. The production 14-15 is estimated to be 4,500 tons, and the producers are planning to increase their production in the couple of the next years. It's 100% machine picked, roller chinned, cotton bagging. Spanish ELS is also an Akalpi seed. It's a blend between Akela and Pima, the same seed as Israel is using, what you heard before. The parameters are staple 1/7/16. The micronair is between 3,5 and 4,0, and the strength starts at 34 and goes up also to 37. Also, the Spanish producers provide 100% HVI data. And a point which is worthwhile to mention is that these producers are taking contamination very seriously. For example, the farmers, a few days before they start picking, they go through the fields and check whether there are some foreign matters around. This is a well-known growth. This is the Sudan Barakat, usually grown in Gezira and the Rahat schemes. Also 100% irrigated by the River Nile. Production 2014 is a meager 800 tons, whereof almost 70% G, 5B and lower. For 2015, unfortunately, there is not too much more to be expected. There is only a very small production at the Rahat scheme. This cotton is hand-picked, roller-chinned, bagging is burlap, and the grading is well known. It goes from G1B down to G6B, with a famous 2 cents difference between types. The parameters of the top grades 1/7/16, 3/7/43, strength 36/37 gram per case. The production figures unfortunately came down dramatically in the past couple of years. The farmers in the Gezira scheme, where the lion's share of the Barakat has been produced, they changed to other products where the profitability is very high, is much higher. An almost unknown ELS variety is Peru Pima, because they use all their cotton in Peru. The growing areas are Lambayeque Valley, Piura Valley, Central Coast Valley. It's also 100% irrigated. The production 2014 used to be 5,000 tons. Remarkably is that the production 2015 will be almost doubled. The reason is the Lambayeque Valley, where the good selling prices and an aggressive campaign of the government motivated farmers to almost double their quantity. It's also roller chin, bagging cotton, and there are basically 3 ELS varieties. There is the Pima, the original one, there is an IPA 59, and there is also a Hazera, which is rather similar to the Akalpi. The parameters, as you can see, the staple is very long, micronair is on the lower side, and the strength starts at 34 and up. ELS consumption is around 13,000 tons. The difference is imported mainly from the States. Peru used to be, with 5,000 tons, the 7th largest importer of US Pima in 2013-14. Let's go to the production and consumption figures. These are, I have to say, these are our figures. There can be some differences, some changes to my colleagues maybe. They will tell me later on. First, the production side, where we have the largest crop, as we heard, is the United States with 125,000 tons. This is equivalent to the 550,000 bales. Then we have a large crop of Egyptian Giza 86 of around 150,000 tons, followed by Indian cotton of 80,000, China 50,000, which gives a total of these 416,000 tons. Adding all the consuming countries together, we have a total of roughly 402,000 tons. As you can see, supply and demand situation 14-15 is rather balanced. With a lower ELS price level, demand might pick up, and with a small carrying statistical situation can still be considered to be tight. Thank you.
Okay. Looking at the nice presentation you just gave, giving the statistics, we will see that the supply or the number of cotton will get tight for ELS in general. How comes that prices will drop? It's of course obvious that for the upland cotton there's a huge surplus of cotton, and this will go to extent. But what is the situation for the ELS, where supply is rather tightening? Please, thank you. Yeah, maybe we can start with the biggest producer in the world.
Well, you know, I don't understand why prices are dropping. I will say that I think sometimes Supini gets accused of trying to hold prices up. I think certainly we have a lot of empathy for cotton farmers. We want cotton to stay in the region. And I think we've done a fairly good job this year of trying to maintain higher prices. But the market goes where the market goes. And, you know, if Pima has to go to $1.40 to be sold or $1.20 to be sold, as a farmer, I can tell you our job is to grow the crop and take it to market. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Is we're going to grow our crop and we're going to take it to market, and the market's going to decide what the price is. But I can tell you that there's economics out there that if for different reasons and different regions don't support the production of extra long staple cotton. And if it goes down to a certain level, then you're going to see it start to disappear from the world, just like Sudan cotton has disappeared, just like Easy 88 has disappeared. We've seen Acela cotton, which was a very famous cotton grown in California, that has disappeared. And the question, I think, is do we still need to differentiate ourselves to the consumer to give them different options to come into a store and do some buying? And I think extra long staple cotton allows that to happen.
Well, talking about the prices, I think the most dramatic decrease in prices coming from Egypt.
I agree. But this is an outcome of economic conditions in Egypt rather than the economics of cotton in Egypt, and the collapse or close to collapse scenario of the textile industry in Egypt, which was really hit by a tsunami of a revolution and consequently strikes and energy costs and labor movements. I don't think this will stay for a long time.
But I presume that this will have an effect on all other long and extra long staple producers. I think with Uri.
Of course, there is one market and each producer is affecting the market, but you must pay attention to the cost of production. No product is sustained when the cost of production is below the cost of the product. So I believe that in the long term, the extra long staple is a different product maybe from the upland cotton, and the cost of the extra long staple, like shown here, should be 160 to 180. In ideal world, it will stay during this process, but in our world maybe it may go down, but then it might go up like we saw in 2010. And I hope that there will be ways to stabilize the
Mr. Stahl, you showed in this presentation that there are most of the ELS producers are reducing the production, or they are stagnant in production. I saw that Spain and Peru are increasing the production. What are they doing better? Do they have lower costs, or?
No, I think in Spain we have a very initiative bunch of producers, and they are trying to do something new. They have the financial abilities to grow realize that what they want to do, and they even plan to do the real FEMA. I don't know. I don't think they have lower costs than you have in Israel or what you have in the States. But I think so far, I mean, they started in a time period when the prices were high. I mean, it remains to be seen how they react when the prices would come down furthermore, whether it would be interesting for them to continue to grow real estate. And in Peru, this is a different case, because in this Lambayeque Valley, the farmers are motivated, as I have said, because they had very good prices last year. And secondly, the government gave them some incentives to stay with cotton and even increase it. I mean, there is again political, let's say, a government.
Okay. One thing which has also been interesting to see is the situation in Sudan, which has been a very traditional supplier to Indian mills. So what's going to happen there? Will there be any cotton in the future, or?
At the moment it doesn't look like, because for next year they're just planting a few hundred acres in the Rahat scheme for having the seed ready. But I don't know the reason, but all the farmers there, if they stay in cotton, they prefer to produce this BPA cotton. I mean, there is a large stock of BPA at prices which won't go at the moment, but apparently they were motivated by the higher yield, and that's why they are producing it. But I can imagine in a few years when they see that this Akela cotton will not bring the price they hope to, that they will go back to the Barakat, which had a nice and good place in the ELS scene.
Mr. Tatolia, well, you, from the point of view of one of the leading fine-toned spinning mills in India, what is your opinion about the price development in the years?
Well, take for example Supima. 1 year ago we started buying at 140 or 50 cents, and slowly it went up and it crossed 200 cents. So I thought well, the prices of all cottons are going down, and there's not enough demand for this particular cotton. The price will retrace back same path, but it has not happened yet. And frankly, as a spinner, I can say, today, at today's price of this Supima cotton especially, I'll have to subsidize my buyer. I can't sell it cost plus. So I think it's about time that the prices found a level which is acceptable to the spinner. In other words, my price is acceptable to my buyers. Otherwise, I have an alternate solution. In 25, 30 years ago, we used to grow 9 lakh bales of BCS 32. So if given full encouragement, we can make enough extra long staple cotton probably for most of the world. This is tongue in cheek.
But does it give
No, but basically my point is the pricing is definitely very important. And today if you see Visa 86 price, which is just about a little over $1, and you see the price of Supima, which is over 185 or something like that, there should be some movement in this.
Egyptian is quite cheap.
Yeah. Well, is Egyptian cotton sustainable at a price which is around $1?
With common practices, definitely not. I know for a fact that if this goes into the marketing season, what will happen is that production will drop drastically next year. And already you have commitment from some of those farmers who were under pressure and had to sell. They are not going to plant cotton again. So the question that I will ask at large, can cotton production currently, without any government intervention, be sustainable worldwide? If all governments of all cotton producing countries stop, intervening in those markets, are we going to have any cotton to go forward? I think only with efficient farming, this may be a solution. And I think that we have to grow the yields, we have to better the economics from a farming point of view, and we try and grow the market. Other than that, I don't think I have a magic answer for you.
Yes. Well, the Israel cotton is grown very efficiently, as far as I know. I think you have the world highest yields in Pima cotton. Is this a way to go? Or?
Of course, you have to be efficient, should have high yields, and they should improve all the time. Staying in one place is going back and back and back. But still, it's a difficult market, and there is prices that the cost prices, like I said, are high, and you should have prices that give something to the farmers. Otherwise, everybody will find themselves closing down. And of course, we should all try to improve also marketing, especially marketing of external stages, and to try to make this market grow.
I'd just like to add a comment that I get this all the time, that people say, Jeff, you just can't pass those prices along. The fact of the matter is the textile industry likes to include the farmer in the textile chain. But the fact of the matter is there isn't a farmer in the world that's in the textile business. They're in the farming business. And they're going to be competitive against other crops. And right now you're sitting in a situation where you have major commodity prices that are hitting low points. And it's probably going to take those major commodities moving higher to bring the cotton price out of its malaise that it's probably going to be in 3 or 4 or 5 years. But in some of the regions that we're going this ELS cotton, we have many alternative crops. And so it's a very competitive environment that we're sitting in. And again, nothing on my slide said that I'm competing against Israeli cotton or Egyptian cotton or upland cotton. What we're competing against is all these other growths. And what cotton's competing against and hurting is competing against synthetics.
Yeah. Well, you're showing the slide about how much you earn with other commodities. So why are you still producing cotton?
Why are we producing cotton? Well, we're in a little bit of a unique situation in the state of California in that we're in a floodplain. So one of the hindrances that we have is that you wouldn't grow a 20-year crop, which would be pistachios and almonds and grapes, in a flood zone. But we are now very motivated to do flood control so that we can put in some pistachios. So we've done, over the last 10 years, we've invested $200 million in tomato processing. We're now the 6th largest country as a producer. We're the largest tomato producer in the world. And that was a big investment, and that's a much better crop than cotton is these days. And then second of all, we are now going to put in about 10,000 acres worth of pistachios. So long term, we look at cotton and we ask ourselves, can cotton pay for water? If we have cheap water, we can grow this cotton at the prices that would make you very happy. A year like this, we have to support the infrastructure in California. So for instance, our company paid $7 million to the state of California for water and didn't receive 1 gallon for it. And then to replace that water, we had to pump the water 2 to 3 times the cost. So those are economics that we deal with, and these things will ebb and flow. We don't have to make a great profit every year, and we know that the textile industry doesn't either. But if you look at long term, the next 10 years out, these things become very problematic.
Well, Mr. Patodia, if you hear this, well, if you don't want to pay today's price of Pima cotton and the production is going to drop, is there the fear of having cotton prices of maybe more than $2 again, or even higher in the future?
Well, I'm not obliged to speak to Pima. I mean, if the cost is not met, I don't have to do this. I mean, my customers tell me that when you, for example, 50 single is used for shirting, and the weaver or the people who make the shirting, they say, you give me a 25 nips yarn, you don't care which cotton you use. You give me 25 nips and give me at $5, for example. So I think the point is either the prices of cotton follow the market, what the market can pay, that means what the spinner can afford to pay, or down the line. So if it is not profitable for, let's say, Jeff's company to produce cotton, they can produce something else, and so be it. I mean, I don't see any problem in that.
Well, this is, of course, not really encouraging.
I would like to add, I somehow agree, because these $3 prices, they were unfortunate because a lot of fine spinners, they were forced to look for alternatives. And the moment they realized that it goes with a medium staple, they never will come back if they have an advantageous price. And also the complex spinning helps to produce higher count yard with lower cotton. And that has to be taken in consideration of the ELS consumption.
Yes, I agree. I mean, with the advent of complex spinning, they are able to spin finer yarns with lesser cotton. So maybe something else will come tomorrow, the technological advance. So maybe the audience will have something to say.
Yes, well, maybe I'm sure there are questions also in the audience, so I don't know whether there are microphones somewhere out there. So if there are questions, please. Yes, here's a question in the front row. I'm sorry, I cannot see.
You cannot see also.
Yes, I see one hand raised in the front row. If there's a microphone, I would appreciate.
For Mr. Jeff Elder and Mr. Ahmed Al-Busati regarding pricing. I understand that the prices that are quoted for US Pima in the market today and the prices quoted for Egyptian ISA 86 in the market today are anywhere between 7 to 10 cents cheaper than the prices quoted in the Cotlook index. Would just appreciate if you have any comments regarding this disparity in pricing. And I'm talking about prices from today's Cotlook.
If I understand correctly, there's the price spread between the Egyptian and Pima. Well, historically,
What's the price spread that's quoted in the Cotlook? That's a Cotlook quote. So there's existing prices in the marketplace today that are below what's being quoted in the Cotlook.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk then on Egyptian.
For example, Egyptian is quoted today at $1.14 in Cotlook.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Egyptian scenario nowadays is quite unique. We do have, as you said, below businesses happening at $1 probably, or maybe slightly below that, and you have businesses that are done at $1.20. And there is quite a belief or a general talk in the market about a real quality issue on Egyptian ISA 86 in particular. There is a problem. Definitely there is a problem, but not a major problem, but the magnitude of this problem translates quite differently from one area to the other, from one grower to the other. So the old formula of transforming the sea cotton into lint cotton is not working anymore because the percentage of this foreign fiber that is existing today is has quite a big range, and therefore it translates also into different prices in the market. And I'm sure traditional buyers who are in the market and are closer on the ground realize how the situation is. But generally speaking, there is a liquidity issue in Egypt, and everyone needs to liquidate as soon as possible from a farmer's point of view.
Yeah, from my point, I mean, it depends on price discovery that Kotluk is doing. I think that it was difficult earlier on because there really was very little business being done. And there was a general feeling that when we got into the Cotton Summit and some of the events that have happened, historically that's when prices business tends to transact, and there hasn't been a lot of business transacting. So there hasn't been a very good job in the Pima market, and I'll agree with you. There hasn't been a good job of price discovery, and I think that there's downward price pressure because we're seeing all these other growth stands. We really would have expected it this time. China's been a good buyer lately, I think, because of their import quota, but the rest of the world has been a very slow buyer. And so price discovery is just now taking place, and I think that you're seeing prices move down. I wouldn't say in a rapid fashion, but in a steady fashion. And Kotluk is showing that drop. Maybe it's lagging a little bit, but I think as far as Pima cotton, I think that they're showing close to where prices are being offered in the marketplace. As far as for the Egyptian quote, that we've been hearing for the last month or so that the quotes were down near $1. It scares us to death that these prices keep going down, but that your growth hasn't been quite as much as ours. But that's just that would be conversation for Mr. Butler and what the price discovery is.
Jeff, what do you think this year? Even though finally the Chinese are buying every week, but normally they're used to buying much larger quantities. So they buy even up to 300,000 bales in a peak year. So compared to that, this year they bought something like 40,000 or 45,000 bales. So I think there is a resistance from China also.
Absolutely. I can tell you that 90% of the inquiry I get is for price today and a shipment in a week. I mean, people are very hand to mouth, and I can understand. I wouldn't want to carry I'm carrying the largest inventory of extra long staple cotton in the world, and it's not very comfortable carrying it. So I can understand why my customers don't want to do that. I firmly believe this, that 9 months from now, every piece of cotton that's of any quality of an inch and a quarter or longer, with the Australian crop being as down as it is, with extra long staple, it's all going to find a home. Now, at what price level it finds a home, I'm not a foreseer, but my crop is going to get sold, and I think any quality piece of cotton that's out of region is going to be sold, and I think that that's going to be the situation around the world.
I've seen another question over here.
Yeah. This is a completely different question. 25 years of cotton in my life. I've never seen a year where everybody in the value chain being happy. Either farmer is upset, the ginner is upset 1 year, or the spinner or the consumer. So is there an out-of-box thinking that's available? Basically, we are handling cotton which is 40% lint or 30% lint, rest of it is all seed. I'm asking, is there a technology available in the world where there's going to be a unique value addition to the seed, maybe rocket fuel or nutrients and something which will discount the value of the fiber? That will make everybody happy in the chain. Because I come from a coconut country. Coconut fiber is extracted, and majority of the coconut bristle was thrown on the roadside and burnt. Today, the coconut bristle is value added, it's going much more valuable than the coconut fiber itself. So I'm asking you, if there is a solution where cotton seed, which is highest in volume and weight, if that can be value added in some sense, and thereby discounting the entire value chain product, which is the fiber price, then the farmer gets a better price, the spinner can get a better price. Is there a possibility? Has been any research happening in any of your countries? That's question number one.
And there's been some work with Cotton Incorporated to develop seeds that have less gossypol, which means that they'd be qualified for human consumption. They've looked at feeding that to the fishing industry, and it's been fairly successful. But that has to then be bred into all the other varieties that are out there. But I do know that was the big downward pressure on seed prices is it could only be served to certain animals, and that's genetically that's been taken care of.
But we already have cotton seeds are crushed for oil and then taken for cattle feed. So I think the whole everything is used. Well, I am not qualified to speak on that, but I thought we would.
Yes, sir. Just a observation type that with the modernization of the spinning mills, with the coming of the new technology in spinning, what is the total requirement or the demand of extra long staple cottons like Paima and others? So whether we are, when you talk with within India or anywhere, the more than 80% is a long staple cottons, comes as only Ursultans. Extra long staples comes about 1% to 1.5, maximum up to 5%. So what is your opinion in this regard about growing of extra long staples? What is the total demand in the world?
It's about, if I understand right, it's about the effect of the compact spinning. And well, what I felt that imports into India of extra long staple cotton have rather dropped, and mills here are making more use of their own long staple cotton instead. So maybe you can give a little bit more detail about this effect of the compact spinning.
Of course, you see, as far as extra long staple cotton is concerned, there are different end uses for which we sell. The most popular is Supima, of course, because of the branding, and there is a luxury market which is attached to Supima brand, and I must say that Supima Association has done an excellent job of promoting it. So that's one stream. And of course, Egyptian cotton we still use because it's very fine feel of fabric and the luster. So there is a market for that also. But definitely with the advent of compact spinning, we have started using much more of Indian cotton, and we are able to make much better and better quality yarn with improved technology. So there is room for each type of product.
But the point is, it will be under spinning. Suppose you have a 50 count cotton, but you are spinning with a 22, 24 counts like that. There's a problem, under spinning.
Yes.
Under spinning.
I'm sorry for that.
Sorry, I
very poor. Sadhu, I didn't follow you actually. Sorry.
Most of the mills are using the cotton, they are not spinning up to the full counts. They are under spinning. They suppose one cotton has a capacity of 40 counts, but you are spinning it under 25, 30 or 34. Under spinning.
It all depends upon your end product which you make. I mean, sometimes we underspin, sometimes we overspin. We do both. I mean, it all depends. For example, after the Biggie seeds have come, the cotton in Punjab, Rajasthan and Haryana, which was earlier not more than 20s or 22s count, is now going for 30s or even finer also. So it all depends, I mean, upon your marketing plans and which market you want to sell.
Jeff, question for you.
So we are a little bit under time pressure, but please, maybe the last question. I'm encouraged to cut a little bit because we are slightly ahead.
The branding effort of Supima has helped in a way that the customer also, it reaches the customer, they recognize the brand, the fiber and the fabric that's gone in. What do you think about Cotton Association's role today by branding an Indian cotton, which has never happened before? Do you think we are in the right direction, and what needs to be done more to make it, to reach the level at least what America has done?
Well, I'm not sure whether I'm the right one to address this question, but Mr. Atulia, maybe you can tell us about the branding of all.
Maybe the American Supima, you can throw some light?
Well, I think obviously Supima has an advantage because Supima is a luxury fiber. It has a story there to tell, and it's small enough. And the other thing is, I was asked a question in a meeting one time, what's the difference between Supima and Egyptian cotton? I said, well, Egyptian cotton is cotton grown in Egypt. And there's many different standards of Egyptian cotton where Supima there just tends to be one standard. But even saying all that, I think the total consumption of Supima cotton that's labeled in a product is still less than 200,000 bales. And our consumption in the world is somewhere around 600,000 bales. So still, 2 out of every 3 bales of Supima cotton is being marketed in a non-Supima product for some other reason. And I would assume that has to do with length and strength.
So Suvin branding in India, do you think we are a step in the right direction?
I think Suvin can be very successful. Yes, sir. I have some shirts.
Okay, there was one last.
Thank you, Henry. Very much like Cotton Outlook. I was a bit reluctant to stand up and say anything, but I just wanted to comment on Mr. Gupta's earlier question. First of all, to say thanks to Jeff Elder for saying we are following the Pima market. We're trying very hard to get that right. We always follow, we don't lead, and I think that's an important point to make. So there could be a lag between actual offers in the marketplace and what we publish. That's only natural. But as regards the Egyptian Giza 86, I've spent a lot of time speaking to my Egyptian friends and indeed to those who trade Egyptian cotton. And the quality issues which Mr. Al-Basati referred to before are something which are of great concern in the marketplace. And so we are attempting to make sure that the price that is published by Cotton Outlook is representative of what you would expect to obtain in a standard piece of Giza 86 cotton, and not something which is devalued by contaminated fibre, by this genetic deterioration that seems to be taking place in the C variety. So we're very conscious of the fact. I don't want people to infer from what Mr. Gupta said that we are somehow not paying attention to the market. We're very, very concerned about the Giza 86 price because of the wider ramifications there. I was a bit late coming into the session. I don't know whether those were addressed before, but I'm not going to raise those if they haven't been raised already. There are some very important issues that arise from what happens to that price, and so we are acting with utmost caution to try to ensure that we're getting it right and that the quality is correct as well. That's a statement, not a question. I apologise for that mistake.
Yeah, thank you very much. So with this, well, I'm afraid that we already have to close this discussion, but I presume everybody of you will be here for a short time. If there are further questions, maybe you can directly address them to this gentleman. And with this, I'd like to thank you all for participating here. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we are about to start the 5th session of the day, Market Updates, Long Run Outlook for Structural Change. I would like to invite